How to revive a 1930s or any period door, wood door with mortise and tenon joints, or even the modern doors which are dowelled. Very often they expand, blow the joints, and people think that that is the end of the door and that they'd better replace it, and that generally entails new frame and door. I'm all for keeping what you already have fitted and rectifying any of the problems. Now, although it seems a challenging problem, it's in effect quite easy, and I've had successful results in the past. This is a door which has been reclamped. The bottom left of the door, facing front of the door, was lifted, was wedged, and two sash clamps used to hold the door together. And I used these at the points at which, first of all, was the centre of the door, the centre bar. For this, I used 200mm long, 10mm and 8mm coach bolts. Selection of augers so that we can pilot the holes, and each of the coach bolts had washers on them so that the head was pressing against the washer. On the centre rail and the bottom rail, I countersunked an appropriate hole so that the head could be submerged below the surface, piloted some of the way for the shank, and then the remainder for the screw. Just remember, the shank can be the same diameter, which was 10mm, but the screw area will have to be at least 3mm smaller diameter. I started with the centre, clamped the door, held the door in place, and drilled appropriately. I show you, because it was the lock upright which was more blown, is that I used two countersunks on this, and I used two 10mm coach bolts running in 8 inches. They're splayed. Top one's splayed up and the lower is splayed down. On the bottom rail we had a simple 10mm running through into the footbar. It's important when working on this that you don't throw the door out of square, so the sash clamps were put in and levelled so that we have an even pressure when we're clamping up. Careful with the glass. Don't over tighten the sash clamps near glass, that can cause the glass panels to crack. At the very top bar I used 8mm, and that's very gently splayed downwards. Now, I've used this medium in numerous other doors and it's proven successful. Because of the length of the coach bolts and their diameter, they're not only holding the door joints closed, but they also operate as a lever so that the door will not drop. Well, prevents dropping, reduces the chance of dropping, minimises the dropping, because they are in 8 inches, and on the cross members they support either the uprights. Now it sounds a bit confusing, but the longer the bolts the better, and although I use 200, I'd easily recommend 250, providing you can pilot out the holes. This is a successful way of remedying blown doors. Before you start, it's probably as well to try and prise out if there are any cracks in the door, any filler that's been used. But I must say that this pulled in rather well, and it was at least 2mm that the door was drawn narrower. Two sash clamps. This is the important part. The door has to be drawn together. This can be done in situ, and probably it's easier. Just run back. That's the setup. Levelled sash bars. And here's what we used: 200mm 10mm coach bolts and 8mm coach bolts. Need that, and you'll need a socket to tighten up. If the coach bolts are a little tight when entering, use some wax on them, furniture wax. That will ease the thread, but you do need to be sure that you increase the diameter where the shanks. So this is an 8mm, so I ran in 8mm about 75mm, and for the 10mm diameter, again I ran it in about, again, 75mm. Don't make them too loose, but on the other hand, don't make them too tight. There's no need. Hope that helps you to save a door. I must say, an authentic door in place looks, I think, nicer. And of course, for £10 you can remedy the fault. When you're finished and you're sure that the coach bolts have settled, so leave the door to dry out. It's better to undertake the work in a more drier atmosphere, spring, summer. After they've dried out, the holes can be filled with car body filler. You can pre-pack the hole out and then use the skimming of fiberglass filler over the top, so that you're able then to pierce the fiberglass filler and tighten the coach bolts if you need to. But if you leave them for a period of time, the door will dry, and that should be 100% job. In fact, I've proven it to be a 100% job over many years.